YouTube, how y'all doing today? We are going to be doing a coolant flush on this 1997 Chevy Blazer today. Just found out that my camera here the touchscreen is no longer working, which is kind of a sad day because I've hardly really used this camera, but I guess you could say it's been abused a little bit. It's fallen and gotten dropped a few times, mostly related to the fact that when I'm working on cars with it, it gets knocked over. And of course, I'm sure strapping it up underneath the vehicle to listen for noises and driving down the road probably didn't do it very much, justice either. But anyway, had to play little musical cars here, so this one's going to be going over here in front of the garage in just a few seconds here. Over here in front of the garage, but we got to move this behemoth. This is a 1972 Grand Prix Model J. We've all seen this one before, at least I believe anybody that's watched my videos has. Just in case you're wondering, yes, it has the 404 barrel in it. Charging up the battery here. The battery, unfortunately, is pretty much done. It's not that old, but we let it sit too long, and now it's not really holding a charge. So if you don't drive the car basically every other day at least, it kills the battery, and obviously this isn't exactly an economical vehicle to be driving every day. But with that said, enough rambling. I'm going to go ahead and get this vehicle moved out of the way here, and that'll make us some room so we can work on getting the coolant flushed on my 97 Chevy Blazer with the 4.3. We'll talk to y'all in a few minutes, guys. Thanks for watching. Okay, we're back, YouTube. We are doing the coolant change out on the 97 Chevy Blazer with the 4.3 liter Vortec engine in it. Pretty simple job to do. This is the overflow here. Usually it's easiest to remove this guy here to make sure you drain all the old fluid, coolant out of it, I should say. I'm just going to siphon it out because on this particular model it's kind of a pain. You have to take the whole computer off and everything and disconnect it, and then to get the bolts and the fasteners out for this. For reference, it's on the passenger side here right behind the battery. The reason why we're changing this is I actually changed it about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I switched it over from the Dexcool, which is the orange GM coolant, over to the green coolant, which is the standard everyday vehicle coolant. I prefer to use that versus Dexcool. You do this at your own risk. Choose if you want to use your Dexcool that your GM recommends, or use the green. My reasoning for the green is because the orange coolant I've known, heard, and if you Google Dexcool, you will find tons and tons and tons of articles related to Dexcool and why you should not use it. So that's just my little opinion and piece of information. It has a tendency, from what I understand, to ruin coolant systems as well as destroy your intake gaskets too. I've actually had this happen on 2 of my vehicles, so we don't use Dexcool in this family. But with that said, we're just going to put that on there so we don't lose it for now, the cap on the overflow. First thing we have to do is climb underneath here, and we're going to go ahead and remove, there's a shield under here. Basically all you really need, I'm going to use a basic garden hose for this, and I'm going to use I got a couple drain pans down here, some oil drain pans. I got 2 gallons of coolant here, just regular Peak green style coolant. As you can see, I used a Long Life 50/50, perfect for where I live. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so it's perfect for that in the United States. Flathead screwdriver, I'm probably going to need to remove some hose clamps. But first we have to remove, they have like a brush shield underneath the front of the vehicle, which just protects like a lot of the underneath stuff in case you go off-roading and whatnot with this vehicle, and it just is like more of a splash guard. So that requires a 15mm socket. You can use air tools, just be careful not to strip the threads out of the cross member, because if you use high torque tools to remove these bolts, I've actually stripped the threads right off the frame, so I prefer just to use a good old-fashioned socket wrench. Now I'm using a ratcheting breaker bar here with a 15mm socket on the end. The reason for this is it gives me a little bit more leverage. So we're just going to move these sockets here out of the way, and I'm going to try to stitch up somewhere where you can actually see what's going on here. So right under the vehicle here is the shield that we're talking about. It runs there. That's the access panel for the oil filter. As you can see, I'm already missing one because the threads are ripped out. So we got that one. You'll probably have 2 there, as well as 2 over on that side. 1 there and 1 over on that side, which mine is still there, surprisingly enough. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove those. So I'm going to try to stitch up somewhere where you can actually see what's going on here, and try not to make you too seasick with my camera movements here. Alright, let's see what you guys have. So hard to do this, guys. I really need a camera guy, so let's see what you're seeing here. Probably nothing. So, alright, so gives you the general idea. So we'll go ahead and remove those and then go from there. So, like I said, 15 millimeter. I'm just going to crack these loose. Not much to really see, guys. All I'm doing is taking out some bolts here. So, like I said, Air Tools does make this a little simpler. I do have an air ratchet, but I don't really feel like messing with the air compressor. I'm a advocate for draining my air compressor. Really don't need to. The air compressor, draining it will get all the moisture out of the tank, and it'll help preserve the air compressor for a little bit longer. Now, the reason why we're taking this panel off down here is so that we can grab some access, or gain access, I should say, to the cockpit, which is the drain plug on the actual radiator. So, like I said, this is much easier using Air Tools, but we're going to just do it this way just because I don't feel like busting out 1,000 tools to do a very simple job, in my opinion. While you're under here, it's always a good idea to check everything, look for leaks. It's not a bad time to do an oil change if you're due. I may do one. Might do a video on that. We'll see how things go with the coolant change. The main reason why I'm changing it today was because there must have been still a little bit lingerance of the deck school that's in the system. So I almost got like an orangish colored, green colored coolant. And anybody that knows anything about coolants will tell you, definitely you're not supposed to mix those two coolants. They're very bad to mix them. They can actually, from what I understand, gel up and do some kind of chemical, I don't know if you want to say a chemical reaction with each other per se, but they can. So, alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish removing these fasteners, and then I'll click you back on once I have this shield. This shield just drops straight down once it's removed. So let me do that, and then I'll pick you up so we don't have 2 hours of me removing a shield here. So just give us a couple minutes, guys, and we'll pick back up in a minute. Alright, welcome back, guys. We're still working on the coolant change here. As you can see, there's the shield right there that we took off the fasteners. I put in a magnetic storage dish. We're going to just roll under here. I'm going to try not to make you seasick with the camera. And the cockpit for the radiator, or radiator, however you want to say it, is really kind of, I don't know if you're even going to be able to see this. Let's get some light in here. Probably not going to really see it from this end over here. But let's see here if we can get it. You can't really see it, but it's on the passenger side on this radiator. We're going to go ahead back up to the top here and try to show you where it's at. Hopefully you can see it down there. I don't know. Where are we at? It's going to be right down there. It's directly underneath that hose there. But like I said, I don't believe, let's see if I can stuff this camera down in here so you can see where it's at. I'm going to actually lower it down. Like I said, this is the passenger side. And right about, the cockpit is right there. I don't know if that's even picking up or if you can even see that. It's like a plastic thing right there. So I hope it picks up, but if not, just take my word for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and loosen that up here. Try to make it so you can actually, hopefully, see what I'm doing here. So we're going to go down there and loosen that up there. I'm going to try it by hand. If not, I can always get a tool on it. I do recall this was fun last time I did this. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to put you guys off for a minute because once again, I'm not going to waste a bunch of battery life as well as your time. So that's what we're doing. We're going to loosen that cockpit that plugs up the radiator and get that to start draining, and then I'll pick up here in a second, guys. So thanks for watching. Okay, we've returned. What I did was I took the the radiator cap out there. That lets the air out. That's the cockpit. It is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Took that completely out. Don't know if that's necessary, but as you can see, we got really messy drainage here. I've got as many pans under here as I can to try to catch all of this. So we'll go ahead and fill these buckets up here. Just let this run out. We're going to go ahead and siphon this out. I'm going to put the cap and stuff in a safe location. That way I can find them when I'm ready for them. And it takes a little while to drain all that out. I mean, there's about roughly 2 gallons from what I understand in the system. So we're going to let that just drain out and take this cap off here, because like I said, I want to try to siphon as much of this stuff out of here as I can as well, to clear this out and get all fresh coolant in here. Then someone has a service thing that they put on here. This is one of the, this is the line for the heater core. I don't know if it's the inlet or outlet. I believe it's the inlet line. Someone had put this service adapter on here where you can hook up a hose to flush the system. So we're going to just go ahead and unscrew that. Now the waterfall is really going. So I'm going to put that in a safe place. I'm going to check my cans. Make sure they're not overfilling yet, which we still look to be good so far. So still doesn't look too bad though, but we want some fresh coolant in here, so that's what we're going for, guys. Alright, let that finish draining. While that's all draining down there, we'll go ahead and get the garden hose prepped. So we'll be back in just a minute, guys. Alright guys, we are picking back up again. Just wanted to give you a quick update. As you can see, we got the coolant drained out. I went ahead and siphoned all the, using a siphon, the old stuff out of there, and then refilled that. So we'll pick back up here in a minute to let you know where we are. Thanks. Alright gang, we're back here. Got a little bit ahead of the game here, but I'm just trying to get this done because it's starting to rain. Got the vehicle started. What I did was drained out all the old coolant. I put that little cockpit back into the bottom of the radiator to plug it up. Drained out all the coolant in the reservoir, filled it up with the hose, and then siphoned the clear water back out of the overflow reservoir just to keep any contaminants out of there. Now I filled up the whole, put the cockpit back in, and then filled up the radiator here with just regular water here. So what I'm doing is I'm going to let it warm up to about operating temperature until the thermostat opens up. Once the thermostat opens up, we'll go ahead and shut it off and drain it all back out, and make sure we get as much water out as we can by draining it. And then we'll go ahead and fill it up with the new coolant and work out any air pockets. We'll burp the system. This here, like I said, somebody had put one of these little service things here on the return line to the heater core. I've been noticing a little bit of a coolant smell lately, and this is why. The service piece that they had in there cracked off inside of the hose. So yeah, so thank goodness I had an extra one of these laying around, so I threw that on there and got the pieces of the hose out of there. Now we're just letting it warm up. So I'll check back with you here in just a few minutes to give you an update as far as actually where we're at with the drain of the water. And actually, I probably won't even show you the draining of the water, because it's basically just taking that cockpit back out. On the right side, it's lefty-loosey to remove it. And then let that water drain out, and then we'll go ahead and start filling up the coolant. So touch back in a minute, guys. Hey, what's up YouTube? We are back with the coolant flush. Of course, someone has to be in the background revving up weed eaters and whatnot, so every time I make a video outside, someone's got to be doing something. But anyhow, hopefully you can hear me. What we're going to do now is I filled up the whole system with water after draining out the original coolant. I also hooked up a garden hose to the line where I was showing you earlier for the heater core return line, and just let the hose run through the heater core and just let it flush for a couple minutes and get all that gunk and everything out of there until all the clear water was coming out. Got everything hooked up, got that new piece in there, that new service piece that someone cut and spliced into the return line. Now we got my coolant and a funnel here. As you can see, the funnel right there. We're going to go ahead and just fill this up, and then we're going to start it up and let it run so we can try to get some of the air out of the system. So now this is 50-50, which is, like I said earlier, acceptable for half water, half antifreeze, which is acceptable for where we are in the hemisphere, or in the states here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's perfectly fine. Some places that get colder, they might want 75% antifreeze and 25% water. Here, 50-50 is more than adequate. I don't know the temperature specs, and I do apologize for not being prepared with that info, but I could probably look it up online and get it, I'm sure of it. So, like I said, I refilled the whole system up with water, let it run to operating temperature, got a nice flow, and then drained all the water out. Now I've got all the water out that I can out of the system, and now I'm refilling it back up here. That cockpit that's down here on the radiator, it's a little difficult to get to, and it's very difficult to film on camera, so I do apologize. You can't see it from underneath either. You just got to kind of reach down there and look straight down, and it's directly underneath the hose, the lower radiator hose. And it can be a little tight, especially if this service hasn't been done before. So I've got just about a whole gallon in here now. It's a pretty big system. I believe I was told it was a 2-gallon. Alright, so that's 1 gallon, which is perfect because we can reuse these bottles to put the old coolant in and take it to your local auto parts so they can properly dispose of it. Let me go ahead and get the second bottle out. The oil is actually not due yet. I looked at the mileage on the oil, so I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to check the level of it and let it go until it's actually due, because I did put a more expensive oil in this. Put the Max Life Valvoline in here because I do have an oil leak. Unfortunately, I think the oil leak is the main rear seal, of course, and of course the oil pan gaskets I think leak too, so. Alright, we're finally starting to see some coolant come up to the top. Now we're going to fill up the overflow up to the cold line. The coolant's so clean I can't even see where it's at in there. Alright. I believe it's actually at where it needs to be. Can't hurt to be a little overfilled. Alright. Put the cap on the overflow just to keep anything from falling in there. And go ahead and fire this up here. Good idea to keep an eye on the temperature too when you're doing it. Have your heater on warm and high, what that's going to do is that's going to help open up the heater core and allow the new coolant and the thermostat to flow so that you can make sure you don't have any air pockets. job. It's sucking the coolant into the system, and it's going to push out the air in the bubbles. They call it burping the system, I guess you would say. But like I said, you definitely want to keep an eye on the temperature because you don't want to overheat your engine doing this. This particular vehicle is pretty relatively easy to do this on. I've done this on quite a few vehicles, and this particular one's the easiest one to do it on. Check on the temperature. Already have heat in there, which is a good sign. It means the thermostat's already opening up. Temperature is reading good. Not quite up to operating temperature yet, but we're going to let it run for a while. Also want to rev it up a couple times too, just a little bit, just to get some of the flow going. Back here on this stupid service port. Off just a little wee bit here. It's pretty full, but we'll go ahead and add some more. Make sure. Check on the temperature again. Yeah, temperature is pretty good. It's not really heating up very fast, but of course this vehicle never really did, so usually a good sign. Cleaning the cap off, getting any goop or anything off of it. That's a build of junk. This cap's not that old, but it's not a bad time to replace your cap if you're due for one. Help seal everything off good. Make think I resolved that issue with the leak. Like I said, that service port here. And it looks pretty dry now. Yeah, it was leaking a little bit around this guy here. I hate these things, but it looks pretty good now. I don't see any leak, and I sprayed it off with some brake cleaner to help clean it off. It looks pretty dry now. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on it. See what happens. Yeah, it looks like it's good now. So, you can see that's where we are there. Nice new coolant in there, nice and green. New coolant in there, that's nice and clean. It should have enough in there. We're going to go check the temperature here. See where we're at with that. Like I said, I got the heater on. I leave it on vent. I mean, typically they tell you to put it on the floor. I put it on vent just so that I can feel it when I reach in the window to check the temperature. But as you can see, I mean, it's not really, temperature is nice and low. So, never did run hot, you know, which is a good thing. And it's nice and warm. I mean, the air coming out of here is nice and warm. So, let's go check everything out up here. Haven't really dropped any, so. Do is we'll let this run a little bit longer, let it warm up, see if it will heat up anymore. If it heats up, check again for leaks, and then once it heats up and I know there's no leaks and the coolant's topped off, we'll take it for a drive, just make sure it doesn't overheat or anything, check for air pockets and things of that nature. But that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, it's basically, like I said, you just take that cockpit out. You want to do this on a cold engine when you start off. You don't want to have a scalding hot engine. Let all that old coolant drain out, catch it in some drain pans there. Fill it back up with water is what I do. I also take, like I said, the heater core lines, which here's one right here for an example, that runs back. Now mine has a service thing like we've been talking about there. I use that. I just stuff the end of that garden hose right in that hose and just let it rip through the heater core. And what that does is that helps clean out any of that junk that builds up and gunk. The heater core sits in underneath the inside behind the dashboard down by the floor. That's the part that actually the fan blows the air across to actually create the heat in the vehicle. And what happens is because it's the lowest point of the coolant system, everything kind of gets caught in there, all the junk, all the gunk and all the old coolant, everything gets in there and it just clogs it up. That's why sometimes you don't have any heat. This is also a really good time to do a thermostat too. This one here, I'm not touching it because I'm not having any problems with it, but and I don't believe it's that old on this vehicle. So, but this is an exceptional time to do the thermostat. The thermostat's located at the end of this hose, down in there, and if you follow it around, right there is the thermostat housing. There's some fasteners that hold that on. I'm going to take a guess and say there's probably 10 fasteners that hold that on, and that's what you take that off and you can throw a new thermostat in there. It's not too difficult. You do probably have to take this bracket off here, I'm assuming, for the throttle cable there. So, alright, we're going to button this up and see where things are. The remote start just kicked off because it's been 10 minutes. So, thanks for watching, guys.